What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Double Coverage, the premier NFL podcast of the Gin Sports Network, bringing you episode 32 of the DCP. I'm here joined with Musa Basal, our NFL insider at GSN. Musa, talk to me, buddy. It's been a minute. How you been? What's going on with you?
It's been good. Keep busy. Watching these Lions. Who would have thought they would be here at this point?
Yeah, it's a sight that is unforeseen to many. And me, I have, historically, I guess you can say I've been a naysayer to some degree because I've seen glimpses of the old Lions, the old days, the Jim Schwartz era, even going back to Dan Gamble's era of the Lions, the John Kitna 0-16 Lions. Going back that far, I mean, that is part of my era, part of my childhood was watching the Lions and seeing them in that state and just seeing them constantly trying to emerge from that. And even in those days, I was a diehard fan. I was watching them every week. Every Thanksgiving we'd watch them and we'd be hoping for them, pulling for the Lions, pulling for the Honolulu Blues, and they just never gave me that. And it got to the point where I was a broken individual. I was a broken fan, and I seen men and women come before me, generations of just unhappy fans and people that have been heartbroken and time wasted, days wasted watching these guys. And I tried to be somebody, and I still stand behind it because that's still who I am. And I definitely can't jump on now, and I wouldn't do that. But I've been broken, and that's kind of where my distrust has happened and came from. I have trust issues, and to see the Lions do great now, granted, I'm pulling for them. I want them to go win it all, similar to how I was with the Michigan Wolverines when they got to the point of beating Ohio State, beating Alabama, going through the trials and tribulations. You got to that point, just go on, go forth, and win it all. That's where I am with the Lions. So we're going to talk about them here in a little bit. First off, I want to talk about the recaps of the previous week in the divisional rounds. Let's talk about Green Bay and San Francisco. San Francisco wins a close game. Probably shouldn't have won that game. But they beat the Green Bay Packers, a very revitalized Green Bay Packers team, mind you, 24-21. What are your takeaways from that game? And how did the 49ers prevail to win against a great Green Bay team?
I think it just came down to the 49ers and their experience. They have much more experience in those situations, and they were just able to squeak it out. They didn't beat themselves in the end, and the Packers they're a young team. They need more experience in the playoffs, and Jordan Love needs more experience, and they just made some mistakes, and they beat themselves at the end of that game. The Packers just showed that the 49ers are not this big scary team that we all thought they were, and I'm not surprised that they aren't because every team let's talk about the Eagles for a second. They started off the season super hot and then they absolutely get destroyed. There's these teams go on these hot streaks and people think that they're going to go all the way and then they never do. It's not a surprise. So people thought the 49ers are just going to cruise to the Super Bowl and then I mean they really shouldn't be in the situation they are right now.
Yeah, I agree. And, given everything that has taken place and everything that has transpired, it's not really too much a surprise to see this happen to a team that has a lot of promise going into the postseason. Probably shouldn't even have made it to the postseason, in my opinion. They did, they made it, and they were here. They had a great run. They beat a good Cowboys team. And Cowboys played like shit. We're not going to talk about that. But Green Bay
Same old
played way
Cowboys.
better than the Cowboys, and they deserved to win that game. Cowboys deserved to lose that game, and they deserved to be where they were, regardless of where they started the season. And that's kind of similar to, and they were one game short. We'll talk about the Lions last year. They were one game short of possibly being that team that really revitalized themselves and came back late in the season. And that was them. It could have been them. But what's behind us is in the past, and it's in the past for a reason. So Green Bay, Jordan Love throws a pick late. It's raining out. You telling me this before the show. There's no excuses for Jordan Love because he's played in hostile environments. He's played in bad weather before. There's no reason that he should let the weather get to him. I guess what's going on with that play call to really solidify the ending of that game and give the 49ers the win?
I mean, putting too much trust in Jordan Love, a young QB. It's his first season. You saw how he started the season, and then yeah, they got hot, but at some point you got to realize the play call might just not be the best for the situation you're in. I mean, you're getting a lot of pressure onto a very young QB, first season playing. I mean, not great weather. I mean, I don't think either team trusted their QBs in this game.
I 100% agree. And yeah, as it's looking right now, Brock Purdy might not be it. He might not be it. And that might be a blessing for the Lions going into next week. We'll talk about them shortly. But first, let's talk about the Honolulu Blues and their big win over Baker Mayfield. I'll call him Cleveland's clown because we did it before back in the Beeper Man days of the GSN. But let's talk about Tampa Bay. I had him by 10. I'm not going to lie. I had in my Twitter bio. I had Tampa Bay by 10 because I seen what they did to a very damaged Eagles team, but they still beat the Eagles, probably arguably one of the teams to go on and win it all. And they had a bad stretch of games going into the postseason, basically squeaked into the playoffs with the games that they had for insurance early in the season. They had a good stretch of games early in the season, which essentially pushed them into the playoffs, but a terrible stretch of games going into the end. And obviously they're damaged goods, essentially, and that might have made Tampa Bay look better against them. But regardless, they looked good against the Eagles, and they didn't play that well. It looked like a revisit to Week 6 when Detroit played Tampa Bay, and obviously a little bit different margins. There's different stakes on the table. But walk me through this win. I've seen a lot of dominance, and I've seen a lot of strength in the Detroit offense, and some good signs in the defense as well. Walk me through this one.
I mean, just to start off with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the Eagles, I mean, I'm not that impressed. I mean, like I said, I mean, they won games in the beginning of the season. The games in the beginning of the season don't matter. It does not matter. You don't want to win all your games in the beginning of the season and then start losing in the end. I mean, you want to be red hot in the end. You want to be comfortably in the playoffs, but it's better to be in the playoffs winning late than winning early on in the season and then end up dying down. I mean, they had no momentum going into the playoffs. They barely made it in. It was just a horrible performance from the Eagles, and the Buccaneers took advantage of that and won. Going into the Lions game, I had no worries. I mean, Baker made it a closer game until the end, until the fourth quarter, and that's when the Lions really picked up. But I mean, that defense was holding the Buccaneers to barely any yards. And Mike Evans was not a factor in the game until the very end for maybe a few plays. And then just this offense, you see small bits and pieces building. You see Jameer Gibbs taking off for like a 30-yard run to the end zone and just cutting and just putting guys in their place. Like, I mean, like he was he embarrassed that safety on that touchdown run. The Lions just have these weapons, and you just see them developing. They have so many options, and the offensive line. I can't talk about how good it is enough. I mean, against Aaron Donald and the Rams, that line held up. I mean, Graham Glasgow allowed zero pressure, zero sacks, zero of everything. He was top rated in the game, and he was going against Aaron Donald, who is the powerhouse in the NFL, considered the best of the best. I mean, gets um gets rated 99 every single year. He makes defensive player. He's always in the conversation there. So I mean, holding Aaron Donald to that, you got to give credit to this offensive line, to the Lions, giving Goff time to find and let his players get open and just Goff making really good reads. I mean, Goff, he just looks calm. He doesn't look stressed out. He's just making the perfect plays and making the good reads and not making bad decisions. And yeah, there's a turnover here and there, but one turnover was he gets a turnover in his beginning of his season with the Lions. It would have destroyed him for the rest of the game, but he just keeps coming back and fighting. He doesn't let the turnovers affect him. So that's where the benefit of him having those issues early on, learning from them, and now he's a completely different player than he was.
Yeah, you mentioned the unsung heroes, which is the offensive line, and it's like that. It's going to be like that for the rest of time, and that's just how things are with football. But they are the unsung heroes. This Detroit Lions offensive line is arguably one of the best in the league, and we've seen that happen. We've seen it play out, and obviously, your boy, Graham Glasgow, the Michigan boy, is one of the biggest leaders, I would say, on that line, and it was a great pickup. But just to see the line really play that much of a role to give Jared Goff that kind of time in the pocket is essential because he's used to having that kind of time. He's even expected to have that kind of time when maybe he doesn't have that kind of time. And that's when you see him get sacked. That's when you see bad fumbles happen. But you kind of see him have a little bit more of situational and, just what's going on around him, more awareness.
I
I'm
mean,
seeing that happen every week. So, I mean, that's something you got to have too.
yeah, I mean, be like Goff is horrible under pressure normally, but they don't allow him to get pressure in a way that affects him badly, and then they're just holding up these defensive players, and just it keeps Goff calm and cool, and makes he has trust. He finally trusts the offensive people that are in front of him. He trusts his players to make plays. He trusts to put the ball in places, and he can be a little bit aggressive. That's the Detroit way. And with that aggression, sometimes you make turnovers, but you can't let those turnovers affect you. He threw a pick against the Dallas Cowboys before the playoffs, and then he went down there, drove the team down, scored the touchdown, and obviously we all know what happened with that 2-point conversion and all that BS from the refs. I mean, the ref was fired, and we don't need to go into it now. The Cowboys are out of the playoffs. It's history at this point, and the Lions have prevailed.
It's confirmed the Dallas Cowboys did not confirm for the playoffs and for moving on in the playoffs. It's a done deal. You see on your screen there, it's perfectly written in the King's English, Lions. Aggressive offense breeds dominance. And that's something that I didn't see against the Rams. And I saw a little bit of shakiness. And when you play scared offense, bad things happen. Good things happen at 100 miles an hour. Again, to quote Coach Endicott, one of my high school coaches back in football, high school football, go Raiders. But listen, good things happen at 100 miles an hour. Good things happen when you play aggressive football. And that works on the defensive side as well. But there's a way to calculate that aggressiveness and to
Yeah,
really hone in on it, to make it controlled dominance, controlled aggressiveness. And if you do that, you play that way, and you take those calculated risks in appropriate moments, good things are going to happen. Okay, if you can kind of have that mesh point of good aggressive gameplay, offense, defense, whatever it is. In this case, it's offense. Have good aggressive gameplay with very calculated risk taking, and solid execution. Solid execution is above all in that situation and in that context. But if you can bring all those three together and put it in a blender, good things are going to happen. And that's what I saw against Tampa Bay. Didn't necessarily see that against the Rams. They squeaked away with the win and did what they had to do. It was a big pass, and I saw it at the end, which really solidified the ending of that game, which was the pass, the first down to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And that was what was the end of the game. But I saw it time after time and throughout the entirety of the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if they can play with that kind of dominance and they can ride that momentum going into this NFC Championship game, then the Lions are going to be in good shape, I think. I think they have
yeah.
a hell of a chance.
I mean, just to talk about scared offense. I mean, scared playing scared is the worst thing you can do. That's how you get hurt. I mean, just to start off the game, you saw Mike Evans. He was scared shitless of the Lions players. That's why he couldn't he didn't catch that ball. He should have caught that ball. He didn't catch it. He didn't bat it down. It led to a pick. I mean, that's what scared playing does to you. It's people fear the players fear the Lions. They fear their aggressiveness. They fear their mentality that we're gonna keep going and going and going. It was all cliche when Dan Campbell first came to Detroit and like, we're gonna bite a kneecap off and this and that. But now they really have that mentality. They're gonna keep. They're gonna get, you're gonna punch them in the face. They're gonna get back up and smile at you and keep going and beating you down slowly and slowly. I mean, players are scared. It's very obvious by if you're just watching these games. They don't like the aggressiveness of the Lions, and they're not used to it.
Yeah, I think it's really important to note too that Dan Campbell's words that he said a few years back in those press conferences. A lot of people thought, "Oh, he's this guy's just saying it. This guy's just going to be another puppet sitting there in the head coaching role for the Detroit Lions." Now we're seeing it play out. Now we're seeing it take form. And he wasn't bullshitting when he said that. And I saw what he was saying, and I knew it was going to be a breath of fresh air for Detroit. I
Oh
knew
yeah.
he meant what he said, and he wasn't going to have the old school mentality that Lions head coaches have had in the years
I
past.
mean, the first 2 years, a bit. I mean, the first year and a half. I mean, people were starting to doubt him. He got these people fired up, and then all of a sudden, they barely win a game. Then they're losing all these games, and then they went on that hot streak, barely missed the playoffs. Now you start seeing that mentality building in these players. You see that the locker room aggression, like you see what Dan Campbell wanted to build. You see the vision, and the vision's there. I mean, there's still ways to go. I mean, this team still has so much they can improve on, so much they can develop on. I mean, we talked about this a little bit before the show about like Jared Goff. He can work on his mobility and his agility in these situations. I mean, he's a mobile quarterback. kind of, but he's not very agile. He can't if Nick Bosa is running right at him, he's not going to be able to get away. So there's ways you can improve this Lions team to make them even more dominant than they already are. And just with time and experience, and you just Jared Goff developing the way he is, he's still a very young quarterback. Still has a lot of years left in him. It's fun to watch, and no matter what happens this year, they're going to keep building and building until they kick down the door to the Super Bowl and win that Super Bowl. I mean, it's a matter of time.
Yeah, you hit on an important point that I made with Rocco on last week's show, and that is Jared Goff's mobility and the questions surrounding that, and the differences between being mobile and being athletic. And I think there's similarities, but they're very different. We mentioned Patrick Mahomes and how he is mobile, but I wouldn't put him in the athletic category. But you can kind of see that bridging over. If you were overly mobile, if you can, get out of bad situations, sticky situations, scramble for a first down, evade tackles, evade a career-ending injury or a tackle on you. Not embrace it like a Josh Allen. He's, I would say, an anomaly in the quarterback role in the NFL that we see today. And you really shouldn't. I don't advise it. I'm a Josh Allen guy. I'm a Bills fan, and they took it on the nose against the Chiefs. But listen, I don't advise I don't advise quarterbacks to do that just because you shouldn't be risking your body that way in that fashion.
I mean,
But to
yeah,
get more mobility, you got to have more mobility if you're Jared Goff, and if they want
and
to get better, he has to.
you just got to look at Lamar and all the injuries he's faced. I mean, Lamar with this guy that would run right at you, doesn't care, he doesn't slide, and he's suffered for it. And who knows how long Lamar's career is gonna be because from all the contact that he took. I do like if you watch him now, he's a little bit smarter with his body and he's not taking as many hits. But at the start, you were really worried for that guy's health.
Definitely. Yeah, 100% you were. We're going to revisit the Lions here once we talk about the matchup against the San Francisco 49ers. But real quick, I want to talk about the heartbreaking loss that my Bills took against the Kansas City Chiefs. And it had to be the Chiefs. It had to be the Chiefs. In a field goal, the Bass miss, everyone's going to give him shit for missing that. But he never should have had that opportunity. He never should have been put in that position to have to take that kick. You're going on a final drive. You're Josh Allen. You're running the Bills team. You're trying to take you guys to a conference championship, and you just can't do it. I'd rather them have went for a fourth down there. Don't risk the kick, and gale force winds and the windy Buffalo air, the weather. It's winter there. We know it's winter. The wind is coming off Lake Erie. We know it is. To see them go for a very long field goal try, by the way, if I might add. And they didn't really calculate it. They didn't even, and I would have even more than that. Ice your own kicker. You have timeouts to give. Ice your own kicker and say, hey, this is where the wind's going. We got a wind read down here in this end zone. At least go for the left upright. Give us a chance at it because we know the wind is pounding towards that right sideline. Nothing, no calculation. I got to blame Sean McDermott on that one. Bad game management and bad play calling in the very most dire moment of that game that could have brought you to a conference championship. I guess what do you have to say about that one, Musa? If anything, I mean, there's really no words to say, and I'm basically speechless. So help me out here.
It's just been a story of teams just beating themselves. It really is bad calls, bad play calling, bad mistakes. It's just you think how do these coaches get to take these teams to where they are at this moment, and then they make such a stupid call. But I mean, it happens. If they make the other call, they don't get it. We're gonna be talking about why did they go for it? Why didn't they take the field goal? There's no winning for those coaches. There's no winning with any of these decisions.
Yeah, they'll be burned at the stake either way. I think you just gotta balance out the risks and take the game into account. And either way, you're right. You're right when you say there's no way that they can win. There's nothing that they can say or do, or play calls they can make, or any words that they can give upstairs or be relayed from upstairs to downstairs. There's nothing that can be perfect. And at the end, the result is the result, and you got to deal with that. I'm just sick. It had to be the Chiefs. It had to be a Bills team that was basically fighting for air in the dying embers, very similar to a Green Bay Packers team, which showed a lot of promise in the postseason as well. But it's just
I mean,
unfortunate, and that's all I can really say.
at the end of the day, you can't make those mistakes against playoff Patrick Mahomes. They're a very different team when it comes to the playoffs.
100%. Nailed it right on the head. Let's talk about Bill Belichick real quick. Real quick. He was hinting towards possibly wanting to go to Atlanta and coach the Falcons, but that's kind of up in the air and that's kind of on its way out. The possibility meter has dropped below 50%. Uh, what do you think is the landing spot for Bill Belichick? You know, he's 71 years old. Um, does this guy hang it up? Say, hey, I had a hell of a career. I got a lot of rings that need to be polished. I'm good. I'm good with where I'm at. I don't think he's done yet,
No.
but where do you think he lands, if at all? And if it's not Atlanta, where does he go?
Bill Belichick has a chip on his shoulder. Ever since Tom Brady left, he's sucked as a head coach. The way that Bill Belichick stays coaching, he needs to go to a contending team that's a coach away. So, I mean, I really don't know where he lands. I think if the Dallas Cowboys didn't make the stupid choice not to fire, like they didn't fire their head coach, they should have fired him in a heartbeat. He would have been a perfect fit for Dallas. I think that's a good team that I think his expertise could take to the next level. I mean, like you said, he's 71 years old. He's old. His coaching style is very old. He's not with the times anymore. I mean, it's all these people that are having success are the young coaches, Matt LaFleur, um, Dan Campbell. I mean, he's not that old, but he has that aggressive mentality, and he's put it in the players. Well, the Rams, look, Kyle Shanahan, the Rams, the 49ers, all of these are under young new coaches that are seeing the game in a different way than Bill Belichick sees the game. So I don't think he's going to do much more with his career. I mean, he might go to another team, but they have to be a good team, and I don't think he can rebuild a team. I don't think he has that in him anymore. I don't think he has the new knowledge that these new coaches have, and doesn't have the time or the commitment anymore. I mean, like you said, he's close to his retirement. I mean, he's working a normal job. He would have been retired by now.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure he has enough money to last him the rest of his life if he so chooses. He's just such a competitive individual. And I think you nailed it again, where he's not going to go somewhere and rebuild a team. He's going to have to go somewhere where they already have a well established team that's somewhat building itself, but maybe not there yet, but has
Yeah.
doesn't need that many pieces. And the bottom fell out for the Patriots, and that's what really happened. He trusted it. He did what he had to do, and it just didn't pan out, and it was really bad. It wasn't just kind of bad; it was really bad.
You can't see him retiring with that massive chip on his shoulder because right now all the
Yeah,
talk is Tom Brady's the only reason why Bill Belichick was good.
that's
Is
not a
that the
headline that
case?
Belichick is happy with.
I highly doubt that's really the case. I'm sure he's a fantastic coach. I'm sure Tom Brady helped his career a ton, but he just needs to get some good go to a team, get a playoff win, maybe make it to the Super Bowl. I don't think he needs another Super Bowl ring. I don't think he cares about that. I think he just wants to prove that he can coach a team to a solid playoff run.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on, let's talk about the Cowboys in that same breath. The Cowboys bowed to keep McCarthy at the helm. And that is a call made from the front office and from Jerry Jones himself, which I think is a terrible call. Terrible call. But at the same time, Musa, you said this before the show, they're winning games and they're playing well. You see the Cowboys playing well in flashes. You see him play good and you see him string some good wins together, play some dominant football. But then you see everything go to shambles against the Green Bay Packers team that really should not be in the same category as the Cowboys. But unfortunately, they are. They let the bottom fall out, and they look like garbage again.
I hate the Dallas Cowboys, not as much as I hate the Packers. How do you let the Packers beat you every single year? Like McCarthy, he needs to go. Sure, they're making the playoffs. They're very dominant, but you can't beat the Green Bay Packers. A Green Bay Packers team that doesn't have Aaron Rodgers. A Green Bay Packers team that's very young, under the control by Jordan Love, the QB that we all thought was a bust.
He proved everyone wrong. I mean, I think he did. At least as of late, he did. Nobody had faith
It's
in him. Nobody believed in him.
it's too early in his career to know.
That's right. Not to mention, this is McCarthy's old team that he got beat by too, which that should be raising red flags immediately. in in the head offices in Dallas and Jerry's world,
I
but
mean,
it didn't do that.
this is Jerry's world right now. He's looking for a new head coach. He just doesn't want to have. He wants to keep confidence in McCarthy. See what he can do for another year. I give it another year of like a shit performance like that. He don't get a playoff win. McCarthy's gone.
Oh, I agree. I think he's in the hot seat. And I think there was even, leaks that he was surprised himself that he was staying and keeping his spot at the Dallas Cowboys. But I digress. Let's move on. Let's talk about the conference championships. First off, let's talk about Kansas City at Baltimore. Baltimore coming in -3.5. And these are as these spreads stand right now on the 23rd of January, 2024, 7:38 p.m. I guess, what do we think about this spread? What do we think about this game? I've heard that Baltimore is going to blow KC out of the water. There's going to be Taylor Swift in tears, and Mahomes and Maato aren't going to get it done. But I don't know. I mean, you see a postseason Kansas City Chiefs team, you really can't doubt them in any circumstances. What do you think?
Listen, the 49 the Dallas Cowboys were supposed to blow out the Packers. The 49ers were supposed to blow out the Packers. The Tampa Bay, like the Ravens, no, wait, the Eagles, wrong bird, were supposed to blow out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All these games have been very close. I honestly believe that the Chiefs are going to win this game. I want the Chiefs to win this game. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, playoffs, Travis Kelsey, this is their time to shine. And these are the best four teams in the NFL. There's no blowouts. You're not going to get a team that's going to blow out the other team. It's just not happening. These are going to be all very close games. And I just Lamar doesn't have that playoff experience. Lamar doesn't have that experience in him. So give me the Chiefs in the situation to go on to the Super Bowl.
So I've heard mixed opinions from mostly Lions fans, and they are saying they don't want to play the Baltimore Ravens, and I don't blame them.
I do
Um,
not care. Give me any single one of these teams. The Lions are going to kick their ass.
Oh, Musa's feeling brazen. He's feeling good today on a Tuesday, and feeling fired up, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. What is my pick in this game? I think it's too tough to tell. I think you got to be scared about Kansas City. I think you can take them with the points at least. I think you take them +3.5. That's the devil's spread, as they call it. If you're favored with that spread, so give me Kansas City with the points. Who wins the game? I think the jury's out on that. Whoever comes to play, it's a pick 'em as far as who wins. So it's up in the air. Moving on, let's talk about the game we've all been waiting for: Detroit at San Francisco. Finally going out to the West Coast, playing out where it's warm, playing
Jared Goff's
outside.
home.
Jared Goff's home. I mean, there's a lot going on here. San Francisco -7. I don't know. I don't know about that spread. I don't know about that spread. This Lions team is on a heater right now. They're playing aggressive football. If they can ride that momentum from the last game, I know they're playing Cleveland's clown, Baker Mayfield, and you know, it's unforeseen, but they played a dominant game. They won the game, and they played dominant offense. I don't know if you can give this spread any validity at -7 for San Francisco, especially how they played against the Green Bay team, which probably shouldn't have been in the playoffs to begin with. What do you think about this?
I mean, let's just go back to the Dallas Cowboys game for a second. I truly believe the Lions should have won that game. They deserve to win that game. They went into Dallas and put on a show against a team that never loses at home, against a team that destroys opponents at home. And the Cowboys are a good team. Let's get that straight. They just don't know what they're doing in the playoffs, but they are a good team. Regular season, they can beat almost anybody. The playoffs, different story. They have to play the Packers in the playoffs. Just say goodbye. But that game was a very close game, and I truly believe that the Lions should have won that, and they got screwed over. Needless to say, they don't win the game. It's still a very close game. They lose by 1 point. That's a very impressive showing from the Lions team. And then all of a sudden, Matthew Stafford's coming to town. Everyone's like, oh no, Aaron Donald is going to destroy them, this and that. They win that game. And then there was a lot of people picking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to beat the Lions after they destroyed the Eagles. The Lions keep on winning. You can't stop them. the Lions lose this game, it's going to be by 6 points or less.
So what you're saying is San Francisco does not cover the 7 points if,
They do not.
all hell breaks loose and
A-
somehow Detroit
a-
doesn't win.
They're not going to cover it. Like San Fran can't cover it. I'm telling you right now, they're not covering it. Look how shitty of a performance the 49ers put against the Packers. And let me say this. As a Lions fan, I am glad that we're playing the 49ers. The 49ers are shaky. They're Deebo Samuel's injured. They're not a good, healthy team right now. And if they were playing the Packers, I think the Lions would be a little too calm and too relaxed, and they wouldn't be prepping their best and working overtime to play this game. The Lions are probably out here practicing right now. You could go to Detroit, you could go to their facility, you're going to see all those players in there lifting and getting ready. You're going to see San Francisco jerseys torn up in that facility right now. I'm telling you that right now. The Lions are hungry. They have a component they are going to be prepping very well for, and they are coming to eat.
It is confirmed that Deebo Samuel has been cleared for a shoulder fracture, but he remains questionable. So even if he is cleared, even if he is playing and saying, you know what, I'm playing this Sunday, he's still playing hurt, and you don't want to count on a hurt Deebo Samuel to be able to do some significant damage through the air. And he even has tendencies to run the ball. He might get the ball on jet plays, jet sweeps, etc. If he's not playing his grade A football and he's not feeling his grade A self, then I mean that's throwing up question marks right now. And obviously you got Brock Purdy as a not too experienced quarterback in the playoffs and in the NFL really. I mean there's a lot of question marks here for the San Francisco offense. I don't think this is an accurate spread. I can see this coming down to 5 points going into the weekend. I don't know if it will, but
Right.
I guarantee you I'm gonna say it right here, right now. And I was the one that had Tampa Bay. I was the one that was doubting the Lions, and I was backing the Bucks last week. I had the Bucks by 10. That did not happen. Give me Detroit with the points, and whatever happens, happens from there. But I think you're in for a good game to say the least out on the West Coast. And I don't know. George Kittle better come to play, or that
Oh
offense
my.
isn't worth a bet.
Let's
You
not
know
even
what?
talk about George Kittle. Me drafting him in fantasy this year, he's been the biggest flop of the year, the worst draft pick I've ever had. George Kittle did not perform this year. He had 1 or 2 games that he performed in. And let's just say, I'm going to say this right now. Brock Purdy is the biggest game manager in the NFL. Everyone thinks he's the best player, but who does he have around him? He has Deebo Samuel, he has George Kittle, he has Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy cannot win you games. Plain and simple. Brock Purdy is not him. He cannot win you the games that you need to win. And Deebo Samuels, I'm not scared of Deebo, especially a hurt Deebo. We've shut down Mike Evans. We shut down Puka Nacua and Cooper Cup, both players on one team. We have Aiden Hutchinson that's gonna smack Christian McCaffrey, and he's gonna be in another universe. He's not gonna want to play. Christian McCaffrey's gonna be scared of getting hurt. George Kittle is not even gonna show up. He's gonna stay at home. He should stay at home.
Okay, I guess in that same breath, and this is I think we're on a stride here. Keys to win. Coming from a Lions fan, diehard Lions fan, mind you, everybody. Moose is a diehard Lions fan. He deserves all the spoils if they go on and win it all. What are the keys to win this Sunday for the Lions to defeat the 49ers?
Just come out, assert your dominance, punch them in the face, punch them in the mouth. First play, go score a touchdown in your first drive. And what you need to do, don't let Christian McCaffrey get going. You get like Christian McCaffrey get going, then there's the play actions. And as the Lions know what the play action does for their team, they know that play action is a big part of their franchise and their playbook, and it really opens up a lot of these big plays. So we need to establish the run before the 49ers do, and we just need to go and just gain the momentum. Honestly, I think you go score the first touchdown, get a stop, the 49ers are going to fold. You stop Christian McCaffrey, there's really no major threats after he stopped Christian McCaffrey. So stop McCaffrey, and you're all set. You're all goaded. Brock Purdy's not going to know what to do.
Yeah, Brock Purdy is not a quarterback that can be self-sufficient without his weapons. And if he has to be left to his own devices and, left to possibly create something, I don't think he has the capability. He doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have the athleticism to be able to do that, in my opinion. And the
And then
49ers are a juggernaut team. Obviously, they're a 1 seed for a reason. But without the weapons at your disposal for Brock Purdy and this 49ers offense, you really have nothing.
And the keys for the 49ers, get pressure on Goff, make Goff uncomfortable. They need to get Goff uncomfortable making mistakes. Goff has been very calm. We've talked about this already in this show. Goff right now is on he's on another level of calm. He's not making mistakes. Get pressure on him. Get him hit. Make him make mistakes. And that's how the 49ers win this game.
That Detroit Lions offensive line is going to be very difficult, almost impossible to penetrate if you're the 49ers defense. Maybe not impossible. Maybe not impossible. You got to find the kryptonite, which is hard to find. Maybe unobtainable for the 49ers defense. But we'll see. Anything's happened. It's happened before. But I don't know. If the Lions are playing the way they are, they ride that momentum, good things are going to happen this Sunday. Good stuff. Good stuff. That is the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. Musa, you got any final thoughts, final words going into the conference championship weekend?
All I'm going to say is at the end of last year, I told you to bet on the Lions to win the Super Bowl. The odds were in your favor. That bet's looking really good right now. I can't remember what the odds were, but it was like bet $10 to win thousands. You're looking pretty if you made that bet.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people are wishing they took your advice if they didn't. And to the winners are owed the spoils. So all the fans, all the Lions fans that have rode this far with the Honolulu Blues, through all the heartbreak, through all the torment, hats off to you, because you guys deserve this. You guys deserve all the wins. And even people that are saying they're in a bonus category of, being in this position right here, right now, given their position and everything that they've accomplished and the comeback season, all the weapons Jared Goff has, the coaching styles that Dan Campbell's done, the stuff that Sheila has done at the helm for this Detroit Lions franchise, all the decisions that have been made, Brad Holmes, etc. I can go on and on. A lot of good decisions have been made and a lot of changes have been made in the right decision. And this team has moved in a positive direction. There's no way you can deny that. So a lot of good things to hang your hat on and to ride into the sunset with, regardless of what happens this weekend and here on out. But we'll leave it at that, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into Double Coverage, the premier NFL podcast of the Gin Sports Network. Make sure to check us out on social media. Our link tree is in the bottom of this podcast. Our IG is at Gin Sports Network, and our Twitter is at Gin Pro. So get at us through all of our mediums, and we look forward to hearing from you guys. For now, I'm John J. II here with Musa Basal.